Welcome to the Growth Guys Podcast, presented by KinderReeseCoaching.com. This is the #1 podcast for real estate agents who are serious about growing their business. Get the strategies and tactics to grow your business fast while building the lifestyle you dream of. Now, sit back, buckle up, and get ready, because we're about to get real. The Growth Guys Podcast starts right now.
What's up, everybody? It's Jeff Kiani, and we're excited for this episode of the Growth Guys Podcast. This is another one of our Ask the Growth Guys live episodes where John Kitchens and myself do our best to answer any questions that anybody has and kind of just talk about what's been going on recently in our conversations with other agents. So sit back, relax, and we love these Ask the Growth Guys live episodes. We'll get started right now.
Welcome back to the Growth Guys Podcast.
So, man, I'm live on Facebook, dude. So we're good. We're
I'm broadcasting. We're on point. So what's up? What's happening, everybody? Man, this is a little Ask the Growth Guys Q&A, and man, we thought it would be fun. It might not be a good idea, but hey, maybe it is to connect with you guys every other Tuesday at about this time. Give a little evening shout out opportunity for everybody to kind of jump in and a little different time during the week. Guys, have any questions, anything that you want to dive into? That's what we are here for. But also to get into other things. I can definitely say, hold on. I got an accountability. This is kind of important. So I got an account, you got to have an accountability partner, right? So I've got an accountability little partner, and I'm holding him super accountable to his commitments. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask him if he kept his commitments for today.
Who's this? Where'd you?
This is Mr. Matt Hilldorfer. Mr. Matt Hilldorfer is a coaching client of ours. He has made a serious commitment, and
what's the commitment?
He's on a T75, and so let me just share his commitment with everybody. He is committed over 75 days to one is there's 2 times he has to exercise twice every day. He has to read. He has to share a progress pic. He has to drink a gallon of water and no alcohol for 75 days.
Oh man, what the?
Yeah. And man, he's been on it, man. Game changer. He's 25 or so days in. And I tell you what was amazing, I hooked him up with, and if you guys are looking to track your habits, there's an app called Strides, Strides, Strides. And I've been using it for a long time. And he was looking for something to track that, right? He's got 5 or 6 things that he's trying to keep track of. And you just go throughout the day and you just click it, like if you kept it, so you can just kind of monitor. And he got set up with it, man. He's doing amazing, man. I'm so proud of him. But, we all need that accountability. So, man, if I could suggest anything for anybody out there listening to this is that, you find that accountability partner, but you also set a time to where that person's going to text you. Hey, where you at? Did you keep that commitment? Did you do what you needed to do? And, man, so I set my alarm every day at like 6:58. And I just shoot Matt a text at the end of the day. I said, "Hey, is the streak intact?" And let's see what he says. He'll respond. He's an awesome dude.
It's just like you were telling me just a few minutes ago. Man, post it. I got my slow time. Like I don't even want to post that, but it is. That's why I posted. I just I'm like, man, I don't want there to be dry spell. A big dry spell. Yeah. Post like it irks on me. Nobody's looking at him or anything, but for me it's like, man, I just don't want to let that dry spell. It's ironic because while I was running just about 45 minutes ago, and this right before I left, Josie told me, "Oh, be careful, it's the heat index is 110." I'm like, So anyway,
I don't think that matters. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little out there, but I mean, I don't think it matters. It doesn't. I mean, it's just like I'm like
hot is hot.
I'm like good. It's hot.
Yeah.
Push
right.
it.
Yeah, it don't matter. I think of it as though I'm gonna get a better workout out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was listening to Influence, and they were talking about commitments, and he was telling the story about the example of, people wanting to remain consistent to their commitments. And he tells the story of when he was in college, some stunning young lady, as he refers it, knocks on his door. And there's this stunning young lady wearing shorts and kind of a provocative top. And she goes, I'm with such and such, and we're doing a survey on the entertainment habits of people in the neighborhood. Can I ask you a few questions? And of course, because he's taken aback by the young lady and wants to make a favorable impression, he says, sure, absolutely. And he admits that he kind of embellished a little bit. So some of the questions were like, how often do you go out to dinner? He was like, 3, maybe 4 times a week. Do you go out to like any of the local concerts? Oh, the symphonic stuff. I love that stuff, and blah, blah, blah. And so he's really embellishing on. And then at the end, it's like, do you go to the movies? Oh, yes. I love the sophisticated movies with the words at the bottom that you have to read. And then at the end, she goes, oh, wow, this is all fantastic. So actually, you'd be a great candidate for this membership that we have that saves you $1,200 a year based on all the things that you already just told me that you love to do. And he's like, boom, he knew it. He's like, oh, I just got hooked, and what it is, and think we use that all the time, right? In sales and a lot of different other ways. But you get all those commitments, and she backed him in a corner. So now what was he? He had 2 choices. He could say, well, I was BSing, and I really don't ever go out to dinner, and I don't do all this stuff. But he didn't want to do that. Or he has to say that he's so stupid that he's going to waste $1,200 by not taking advantage of the thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so it's a little off track. But when we talk about commitments, I actually thought as I was running consistency really is what that, 6 chapters, and you got social proof, you got consistency, commitment, all those different things. That was one of the stories in the consistency. And then commitment, there have been tons and tons of studies that prove that a commitment that is written down, number one, and that is made public is where the power exists. They talk about how, just a lot of different examples, but really what it is let's say you ask somebody to commit to that T175. And what happens is mentally it changes their impression of themselves. So now they picture themselves as the person that would be like living the lifestyle and following what would be necessary to meet this commitment. And then even if you were like, the way this was really used is like talk about rewarding. So, let's say that you want somebody to do something, but you hang a big reward out there. And in some cases, it's proven that then you can pull away the reward. And because they've changed their impression of themselves, whereas before, the only reason I was doing this is because you were going to give me $100. All of a sudden at the end, you say, you know what, Jeff, I'm not giving you the $100. That the habit still remains because I've created in myself now the impression that I'm that person. And as soon as you pull that leg out for the $100, I've created 6 other legs mentally by making the commitment that it stands on its own anyhow.
You still have it.
You still have it. And so the way it was being used is like if you want to change the way somebody is, like, if there was a robot in the room and you tell the kids not to touch the robot, you can either get them to do it by punishing them, right? But then when you leave the room or something, they're going to touch it, right?
Yeah.
Or you can somehow get them to think that it's wrong, period. Just to get them to think that it's wrong. And then they would never touch it even when you weren't around. And the way to get that result a lot of the times isn't with reward. You need to get people to actually take responsibility for the commitment. And so when they become the person in their mind that is in aligned to that commitment, even when you move away the reward, I still have built other pillars for that to live on, right? I mean, I don't know, man. That's
powerful, man. No. It's way powerful, because that's so true. And what you're talking about is extrinsic rewards. And, you know, it's the whole carrot, right? And, you know, the carrot only lasts so long, right? Because the only thing that you can do is you just have to keep making a bigger carrot. So what you're really looking for is more intrinsic, what's really driving them, helping them develop the habits because of understanding why they're doing and developing the things that they're doing. And it's not like, you know, we want to successfully make X number of phone calls a day, or like for you, it's like, you know, like you have this push and there's an internal drive there. There's an internal motivation of why you're making this push every day. Like you're hitting the runs, you're staying consistent. Like you ain't got no money on the line to do that or not do it, but there's something in intrinsic, internal that's pushing you to do that. And so
like people would say I'm a runner. People now, because I post everything, like Matt at our office goes, man, when I think of people that run a lot, I think of you. So now that puts pressure on me. Like if I think that people think of me as a runner, then I need to act as though I'm a runner. I mean, it's as simple as that. And the only way for me to get, and assuming I want to be a runner, this same situation takes place a lot of times in that you don't want to be also, right?
Exactly.
But assuming I want to be a runner, then how can I get people to hold me and that boomerangs back to me and makes me want to be that? It's by making the public commitment, getting back to what we're talking about with Matt and the T75. If people think of me as the person that's doing, if Dan Paz, dude, I mean, people think this guy, I mean, I think of a guy who worked out 407 days a year or something. So if he was to not go to the gym one day, think about like what he has built. He's built so much pressure on himself. I mean, he's the person that he's the person that goes to the gym no matter what. If he got in a car wreck on his way to the gym, I bet you, and he broke his leg, he would still be like, I gotta go to the gym before I can go to the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, and as long as, you know, I mean, as long as Dan's doing it in pursuit of something, right? What is the bigger picture? And pushing himself beyond, you know, that day off or that forced day off could have such a negative impact. And so we have to remember, you know, bigger picture of what gap we're trying to close by hitting that gym every day, hitting that run every day, hitting those calls every day, right? Doing those things that necessarily, I mean, I can guarantee you Dan Paz don't want to get his ass to the gym every day, but he does it.
Yeah. Yep. And I bet you, man, God forbid he didn't. Somebody said, hey, I didn't see your thing about going to the gym today. Oh, the whole house of cards come down.
It could, man. It's a slippery slope, right? It's a slippery slope. So you've got to know really internally what it is that you're driving for. In the bigger picture, man, it comes down to, you know, that internal motivation. You know, man, you better be loving it, right? That's the thing, man, is like, do you just love it, right? Like for me, man, I don't enjoy, like I wanted to sleep in this morning. I mean, I really did, man. I was comfortable. It was nice laying next to Holly, and man, I didn't want to get up. And, you know, I have this constant saying in my head is that, and this Muhammad Ali's quote is like, I hated every early morning workout, but I love being world champ. And so like, for me, it's like, I hate getting up, but I love being an Ironman. That's my saying. I say that every morning. Right. And I know for me, why I want to be an Ironman is because I want my kids to say, my dad's an Ironman. Right. That's the driving factor. Like I remember going through Ironman Texas, and it was hard on that last third loop of the marathon. I knew I had it, but it was still hard, you know, pushing through. And I just kept visualizing my oldest son, Colton, saying, my dad's an Ironman. I kept picturing my daughter saying, my dad's an Ironman. I kept picturing, you know, Zach saying, you know, my dad's an Ironman. I kept picturing Zane saying, my dad's an Ironman. And I just kept going. Like no pain, no nothing. Like I wasn't tired. I was, but when I was having that positive affirmation in those sayings and that internal motivation, it was amazing, man. I loved it. And, you know, I think that's important. I think that's important for everybody, man, especially even in this business, because it's hard. It's hard, man. It's hard. And anything that is worth pursuing, anything that's worth receiving back, it's so hard, man. And you've got to have that internal drive, that internal motivation, and reminding ourselves of what the hell we're pushing for, right? Like I guarantee you, man, you're out there running for a reason. You ain't just running. You nobody in their damn mind in fucking Grapevine, Texas, on August the 13th, freaking in the heat of the day in the afternoon, out running just because they just want to be out running.
Yeah, I feed something else. It's like just part of the vision I have for myself that's like I have, and I don't enjoy the running. I enjoy the pushing through it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like it's a challenge. It's the fact that I know I'm going to hate it and then I don't want to do it. And then I go do it anyhow. Like that just makes me feel good, you know? And it's like a line, you know, I picture myself as a person who would be doing stuff outdoors. And running is something that's easy to do. Let's face it, I don't get to the gym as much as I would like to. Running is like, people go, how do you go run? I said, what are you talking about? It's the easiest thing in the world. I could go just head that way. Just take off.
Like, I mean, think about it. I can put a pair of shoes on, a pair of socks. I got a pair of running shorts.
Oh.
I got my little, like we were talking about this morning, I got my little fanny pack that holds my water bottles, holds my phone. I got my headphones on. I got my sunglasses, and I got my little sweatband deal. And I'm out. I'm going. That's it. You know?
No gym membership required.
Gone. And I just love, man. You know, here's the fun thing too. And I think there's real power in this. And we're rambling here. So if you guys are tuning in or listening, I mean, if you're listening to a recording, listening to this podcast later, I mean, if you got any questions, hit us up. If you think we're just absolutely.
And I'm going to take us in a direction here in a second. I want you to finish your thought, but I'm going to take us off track here in a different direction.
You know, here's one of the most powerful things that I love, especially about practicing more so the run, and even more powerful, the swim disciplines of being, training and looking to compete, in Ironman. Hey, don't get me wrong. I ain't looking to compete in Ironman. I'm looking to finish in Ironman. That's like my objective, is to cross the finish line. But the thing that is that I think I love the most, and I got this from, Ryan Holiday, who he's my favorite author. Obstacle is the way, ego is the enemy. He has, the daily, he's got the Daily Stoic. He's got a handful of other books as well, but he talks about like why, he runs and he swims a lot too. And it's for like the isolation. So think about it. Like even running, Jeff, even like when you're running and you don't listen to anything, right? No music, no nothing. You're forced to listen to your breathing. You're forced to listen to your thoughts. And even more so when you're in the water, right? Because in the water, you just hear the water. You hear your thoughts. You hear your breathing. Like you don't hear anything else. And there's tremendous power in that quietness. And it's another form of, it's not meditation, but it's mindfulness. And it's getting you forced into listening to your thoughts. I read a quote. So, we did the, I'm going to find this real quick and read this to you. So I read this to Kinder today. It was a statistic from Apple, and it talks about, and this is super, super powerful. Let me find it real quick. Okay. So here's the statistics, and this came from Apple. And this is, this starts to explain a lot, right? So Apple reports that people unlock their iPhone an average of 80 times per day. 80 times. Now, this is 3 years ago, a study in 2016 found that people touched their iPhones 2,617 times per day. Okay. Why has distraction become a new default, right? That's what it's saying. So think about this. Let's undo this. So 80 times unlocked. Okay, it's crazy, but let's think about it. Let's assume somebody's awake for 16 hours. That's 5 unlocks per hour. Just 5. No, 16. There's no 16 hours. So you got to do the math both ways. So that's only 5 unlocks per hour, right? You know, I mean, okay, there's one in the 7 o'clock hour for me.
It'd be one every 10 minutes, basically, one every 12 minutes.
It's crazy, but it's not that crazy. But here's the kicker. 2,617 touches.
Yeah.
By 16 hours. Now, you know damn good and well ain't the average person up 16 hours, right? Touching their phone. Maybe close. But 2,617 divided by 16 equals 163 touches per hour.
So how many is that? So that's like
touches.
2 a minute.
Touch. Move. Touch.
Yeah. That's like 2 times a minute, I think. But that is so, you know, I mean, imagine, like, I think about it when you see people, like, what do people do in restaurants back in the day? I mean, we were there, you know, like, it's so hard to imagine what people were doing. Like, as soon as there's not stimulation in front of me, boom, people go to their phone, right?
100%.
So they don't go to the person next to them. They don't communicate anymore in that medium. It's to the phone. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
It's crazy, man. And you know, there's with this study, there was a Mark Twain quote. He said, you know, whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it's time to pause and reflect. And so that would be my challenge to everybody, man. If you're hitting that 163 touches per hour, you might want to pause and reflect, and we need to think about something else.
We need a touch meter app, dude. That would be badass. If we had an app that would show me, like, as a running count on my phone, how many times I touched it, that would be sweet.
Dude, I can tell you, man. You know Apple has all that data.
Oh, they do, for darn sure. Like, serve up some more crap to Jeff.
He likes touching this spot. Let's hit him with something.
Yeah, put an ad over there in the top right-hand corner.
I mean, you know it is, man. You know the analytics are there. You know the placement's there. You know it's critical. So crazy, man.
Hey,
all right, brother. I know you want to take us. Where are we heading?
Let's go in a different direction, and let's talk about. So you called me up on Tuesday. No, actually, it was last week. Right before us hosting our Agent to CEO event on Thursday and Friday, you called me up on, I think it was Wednesday, with one of our clients, Jacob Barnhill, on the line, and you guys were digging through some of the numbers that he's working with when it comes to calling expireds and stuff, because he's got a third-party ISA company. And so I just thought, you know, man, it'd be a good context to kind of talk through how that discussion came up on your end, and then you guys calling me and kind of sharing what we talked about and what he's going to go track down to get a clearer picture of whether it's working or not.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that's a great topic, and it's real for a lot of people. What I would suggest, and I want everybody to get some context around making key hires. And we talked a lot about this at Agent to CEO last week. And you know, if you're running a company that has more than five team members, you need to get your butt to Agent to CEO. Next time we have the event will probably be Q1 of 2020. You got to get there. It is a game changer for anybody in that position. It will shave light years off of the growth of your organization by just, I mean, shit, Jeff. I mean, this is the dang book, right?
It's the Bible.
The Bible, right? Yeah. And really this, I mean, you know, that's what we joke because that's what Kinder said when he first saw it. I built the book before I sent it to him on purpose because I knew it was more than enough content. And like Jay is like constant process improve. And I was like, man, we ain't got time to process improve. We're going to go with this. But I knew that it would be like shock and awe when he saw it. And the only thing that he could say is like, in Jay Kinder fashion, man, this is the Bible. this is the real estate Bible. But yeah. Jay Kinder fashion, it was funny as shit, man. I laughed. I told Holly immediately and she started laughing, but it really is. And we talked about, it has everything in there, but the one thing that, talking from a hiring perspective, and it's always been our belief, and we can, circumstance depending, you can kind of navigate a little bit. But Jeff, the number one thing, man, is you've got to get a key dynamic administrative person that can get the low dollar value activities off of your plate. You have to do that. And they're almost like an executive assistant. And that's how you have to look at them, to the fact of any and all paperwork, returning phone calls, helping you navigate the calendar, additional little paperwork here and there, follow-up phone calls to this, that, the other. Hey, I need you to run, grab lunch. Hey, I need you to run, grab the cleaners. Damn, I hate to ask you this, but I'm going to go on an appointment. I've got my kids here. Can you watch them for the next 30 minutes and I'll be right back? All of the above. It is that. I mean, it is that. And so once you get that in place, then it's I think there's some virtual options, Jeff, to outsource to help create additional leverage along the way. I think there's some VA support that you can get in. And so I'm going to give a little more context and then we'll apply it to Jacob's situation. And I think that in our experience, what we've seen, not only in our personal experience with the real estate companies, but also, shit, man, I don't know how many P&Ls and businesses. I mean, it's a lot. And this is the best situation, is creating that VA support in whatever that is usually lacking in what you do, and also lacking in that admin help. And most likely it's transactional support, right? It's contract to close. It's getting somebody to handle, once you go into escrow, to close escrow, open escrow to close escrow, is getting that outsourced, because you can charge a per transaction to the client during the transaction to offset that expense. And so you offset that. The next thing that we've seen is being able to offset some additional calling in the virtual ISA. I would say about the same time you could do a showing assistant, somebody that you can find that you can get to help you show properties. But no matter what you do virtually, as soon as you have the money, the core capital, the cash flow, you bring that shit in-house. You bring it in-house. And first and foremost, I would say you leave, if I said, man, if you were to say, hey, John, man, you've got a virtual contract to close, you got a virtual ISA, you got a virtual assistant, showing assistant that is doing just some showing times, helping you go sit open houses, go sit in, inspections, going to do some things like that. Who do you bring in first, right? Man, you got this dynamic admin that's doing a lot of great things for you. They're kind of your executive assistant. Who do you bring in first? Dude, when cash is right, man, you bring that ISA in. That was
going to be my answer.
100% of the time you bring that ISA in, because they can handle the communication, the follow-up, the appointment prep. Dude, they own your calendar more so than that executive assistant. And you might get to a point to where you outgrow that executive assistant.
Well, and they create opportunity and they create revenue, right? Whereas a lot of the other workload is servicing business not that that's not important, but man, I mean, if I'm going to pay that labor dollar, I want it to return in dividends, and the ISA can generate new opportunity and bring an increase to the bottom line. It's hard for a transaction coordinator to affect the bottom line, right? I mean, unless somehow the only way they can affect the bottom line is if they either get paid less or they get paid more, and my margin or somehow increases, but they can't bring in the same kind of effect on the bottom.
They can offset their salary from vendor relationship management, but at the end of the day, it still doesn't matter because we need to be virtual with them per transaction until we're consistently closing enough to where we can bring it in. Now, it's like, well, you can leverage them to do other things. I get that, but if you have that key administrative assistant in place that's handling paperwork, that's handling your listing processing, that's getting the paperwork over to that contract to close, they can't impact it anymore, man. It's not worth it. I'd rather you have a right hand, and I would rather you have a full-time ISA that is so dynamic that is really becomes your next executive assistant, and you probably end up getting rid of that one or transitioning that one into a listing coordinator. And then, contract to close, man, leave. And I know Jay has a little bit different of opinion on this, and I get it. I mean, it's valid, but just in my experience with it, brother, you've got to you keep that outsource until you're consistently closing, man, because you don't want to make that salary commitment. I would rather have a salary commitment to a executive assistant that's keeping all the bullshit off my plate and somebody that's a dollar producing activity like an ISA in our definition of an ISA. Not like ISA that you were freaking running shop for us in Dallas.
Right.
That's not the same ISA.
Stuff. Yeah, you want them
not the same ISA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you were doing. I mean, the way that a solo agent, like we were bigger, man. I mean, how many partners? 12. How many buyers agents? And how many? What you were running? What 8, 12 ISAs?
Mm-hmm.
That's different, man. That's a different dynamic. That's specialized roles. I'm talking about the, solo Joe realtor out there that's just cranking it and getting it after it every day. They can't have an ISA that just their job description starts here and stops here. Like our ISAs, man, they did file prep, right? They did follow-up prep. They did everything. Follow-up prep meaning like they close out the file and take it to the listing coordinator. They make sure that all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, everything's here. They're nurturing the relationship. They're making the phone call, say, man, dude, that appointment with Jeff was crazy. You guys are on point. You got the price nailed in. We're ready to rock and roll. Looks like we're going to be going live next week. I'm going to be kicking you over to Carla, and Carla's going to take it from here. She's going to handle all the prep, all the listing. So that's how we handled the ISA, man. And they were the gatekeeper to our calendar. And so to me, making that dollar higher because they're the person, Jeff, they're the person that's not letting anything fall through the cracks.
Yeah, definitely. And most agents, like that solo agent that you're talking about, they don't have the data to occupy 8 hours a day because we had 12 agents and then buyers agents and everybody was assigned a market service area. You could have 12 ISAs that have plenty of data to sit there and call for 8 hours a day. But for most agents, there's not that deep of data set. So you tell somebody to get on the phones and call expireds, call for sale by owners, here, call my dad. Like, by lunch, they're like, what do you want me to do now? And if you don't leverage them to create more efficiency, because that's the thing, you're trading time for dollars. So I'm still making money if it means that I can do more high producing activity, right? So it's creating opportunities in other ways for sure. And so you don't just say, oh, we got no more to call, just call the same old crap again, or, go home early or whatever. No, you leverage them to find efficiencies and opportunities so that you can focus on something else.
Yeah. So think about this. like Lawton, for example. I mean, if you called every rooftop in Lawton, based upon the number of transactions, you're still less than 3% turnover. Dude, you can call, like, why would you call? I mean, you run out of data to call.
Right.
Right. And you're calling data that people ain't even thinking about making a move. It's just a bad use of time. And so you've got to create that leverage. I would say then to Jeff is that, you get some marketing help immediately. And this is, so you mentioned Dan. I mean, we can talk, let's apply Jacob's situation here in a second, but we talked about Dan, right? And so Dan is like a freaking hunter, right? The dude is like the hunter. His whole business, his survival, his career, everything's been on hunting. And so Dan's transformation right now is becoming a marketer. And that's what he's focused on. He's spending all of his time consuming marketing stuff. And I'm like, dude, you can close your eyes and make sales. I said, but 10 years from now, do you want to be, hunting and killing and making sales, or do you want, the food falling in your lap? I said, for that to happen, you got to become a marketer. I said, you've got the sales piece down. You know how to close. And so that's what his transformation, that's what he's focusing on. So let's apply this back to everything that we're talking about, that whole spurred this whole conversation with Jacob.
And by the way, I talked to Dan after, Tucker sent me a message.
Yeah.
Who's his kind of ISA guy who turned into a whole lot more now, full-fledged agent crushing it. But I talked to Dan, and that's what we talked about, is this new little marketing tool, and he's trying to find a way to leverage this slide dial thing to target neighborhoods, like just sold properties and stuff like that. And so we talked it through, and yeah, that's, because he's like, man, the time efficiencies, just imagine what he was looking at that for is not just how many opportunities can it bring, but can it bring any opportunities with me putting in less effort?
Yep.
Because that is true, man. He's putting in the effort. But if something happens and my fingers break or I can't lift that phone or crush it every day, man, it all stops. So
yeah, buddy,
he's looking for that. Yeah. So let's talk about Jacobs. So,
what led us to this whole conversation talking about this, how we got on the phone was, how are we allocating, the dollars that Jacob's using to run his organization and applying to leverage and labor dollar. Right. And so, you can talk a little bit further on this, but we were really, diving into that. He's got that key admin. He's got somebody that's young and hungry that's also making calls. That's really more of an, like when you say, you read, inside sales predictability, or from kind of, your understanding, you've got the segmented roles of sales development and the closer. She was kind of in that closing role. And so he was outsourcing dollars for SDR, sales development. And you can only, you burn through data. You can only have so much data, right? You can talk through this all day long. The challenge that we even had here in DFW, what happens with data?
So basically the picture looks like somebody who's paying a decent amount to a third-party company to do this heavy outbound calling. And to throw some numbers around, I think that this ISA team, first of all, they're off-site. They're not located anywhere close. They were given, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of 20,000 records or something like that, just a data dump of all kinds of stuff. And they're supposed to get after it and then hand over warm opportunities back to this person who's kind of more of the closer role. And so the immediate problems are, I always think that if I can get somebody in my office, or at the very least local in my area, I have an advantage, because they can develop a much better connection. They can build rapport with the prospect just by recognizing certain landmarks and knowing the geography of the area and streets and stuff like that. Plus, inherently, by them being close to you, you have the option, you have the opportunity to share your experience with them as transactions close and as you go out on appointments and meet with people. And so then that ISA can regurgitate that. And matter of fact, I just heard John talking the other day. He met with a couple that lives not too far from there, just over here, or we just sold the property last month. They were so excited, and we got them a new home, and they're just in touch with the pulse of the organization much better than anybody far away. So I get an advantage, number one, if they're there close to me. And I can manage them. I can hear them. There's nothing like, hey, when people are making phone calls from a management perspective, you have to be able to hear what's being said on the phone. Like if you really want to affect and tweak that particular process, that's just how you have to do it. A third-party company, I can't hear what they're saying on the phone. You can send me call recordings, but how many of us are going to take the time each night to really be disciplined and listen to those call recordings? Is that the best use of my time? Or would I just like to be able to hear in the office what's going on throughout the day and understand the tempo? So, those, and then what would it cost me to hire somebody on my own? If you're paying somebody who's 3,000 miles away or 300 miles, 3 hours away, whatever it is, if you're paying somebody the same as what you could probably get somebody with a competitive pay in your market, then, you probably have some decisions to make. And then going deeper into that, I started asking questions about the metrics that were related to the dialing that this third-party company is doing. And so what you don't have also when you're offsite is you don't really have like that hands-on, like, hey man, let's resort the list. Let me look at what you were dialing. How do you think it's going? I mean, you lose some bandwidth when it comes to that. And so some of the things that we talked about were little things like, man, you gave them 20,000 records. So I bet you, based on the contact rate and how, I bet you they just started at record 1, and right about now they're probably on record 5,000. Well, some of those records, though, are like brand new and higher priority. So why are we skipping those over? There's some in the last 6 months that we want to hit hard right now, but they're not going to get a number 2 phone call for how long? Because we're not thinking, oh, shit, let's be more strategic about how we segment the list. Are they calling the brand new stuff first, or are they just running on a queue? Well, I don't think that they're calling the brand new stuff. So I'm like, like the expireds and stuff that would have come in last week, those aren't getting any more attention this week. They're just kind of going robotically through a list. And that's unfortunately probably the biggest negative that you get when you're working with a third-party company doing heavy outbound dialing is they're just robotically going through a list. I'm telling you, that's what they're doing. They're not going, where's the opportunity? I got a list of 20,000 here. Let me sort it by only people that have had 0 calls, or let me sort it by people that were created in the last 90 days. I mean, they're just not taking a strategic approach when it comes to dialing your list. So if you do have a third party, you got to start bringing it up to them, and you need to set the tone and what the expectations are, and you need to give them a workflow and what they need to be doing, and you need to be tracking the numbers.
Yep.
Because again, if you're paying anywhere close to what it would cost you to get somebody in your area, then most cases you'd probably say it's a better idea to get somebody in your area, and then you can use them for all the other things like Kitchens was just talking about, doing a lot more than just sitting there dialing. I'm on, it's just that 20,000, those 20,000 names. Somebody today probably sat there for no other reason other than I'm supposed to make dials, right? And remember, like, incentivize the right behavior. I'm paying that third-party company to do one thing, make dials, unfortunately. Right. And so that means that person today sat there and called a whole list of people that were from 2018. And maybe they made 800 dials today, but it never dawned on them that I'm calling people from 2018. So why don't I, for John, because I care so much for him, 3,000 miles away. Yeah, right. Why don't I resort the list and really try to find some opportunity for John? Maybe I can get 500 leads that were created.
Just call through it, man. Just call through it, man, because that's their job.
They're getting paid to make dials. They're not getting paid to really create opportunity for you. They don't know you. They don't love you.
Compensation drives behavior, right? So you have to look at, you have to look at how that's aligned and the behavior that it's gonna drive.
So it serves its purpose. Now, if I can get that for, like what we ended up doing is changing what we provide as far as an ISA service now is not that outbound dialing, because I don't believe that I can generate, in most cases, a good return for the agent doing it. So instead, we just changed and pointed that tool towards inbound leads, where we know agents are paying no matter what. If somebody connects with that lead or not, they're paying $3, $5, $7, $8 a lead. Somebody needs to get a hold of that lead, because your buyer's agent sure as hell ain't. They ain't calling it 10 times. And so that's where, for a small amount that doesn't make a whole lot of sense from a business perspective, but it provides a lot of value, and we get a chance to work with agents in a different capacity that way. But for a small amount, we can do that, and then it works out well for the agent. So that's what we adjusted to doing, so we weren't that third-party company who's just dialing and gosh, I mean, an agent paying $2,000 a month to a company, say they do it for 90 days, they're $6,000 in. Even if they get a deal in the first 90 days, they're underwater.
Yeah. I mean, our rule of thumb, even with ISAs calling warm traffic, I mean, is you're looking at 120 days to even break even. And so, I mean, you're looking at that where they're calling cold traffic, and, you're making that investment. It doesn't, I mean, the cash conversion is so much longer. And this is where a lot of people, get tripped up, is they miss that. Right. And I think too, man, another thing from a virtual aspect is that a lot of folks, punt the leadership responsibility of that hire and of that functionality. And, I think one of the things too, even we're learning as we're working more virtual, is that we got to communicate more, not less. And, there's some tight parameters that you have to have in place. If not, I mean, it won't work. So that would be key. A couple key things there to see, to give you guys some, the complete context and story behind that whole, spurt, that whole conversation there, talking about one of our awesome coaching members, Jacob.
Yeah, so he's going to go back and he's going to get more involved in the process now. And so that you brought up a good point is, I mean, we've done it. What we would do is we'd punt the management. So whoever runs that call center, I'm going to meet with that person, and I'm going to assume that person is going to take what I'm conveying and relay it to all those ISA. It ain't going to happen like that. She don't even know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Or he don't. They don't live in your business. And as much as they might cater to us real estate agents or whatever, they probably do not get it. Rest assured. And so you need, like, I want to meet with my ISA personally. Here's how it would work if I had to be involved: is my ISA and myself are going to communicate directly. They're going to send me the reports and everything directly to me, an end-of-day report, just like we used to do. They're going to jump on until I get real comfortable with them. Every day they're going to be jumping on a virtual call with me, or if not, they're going to record a video message to me. I mean, I'm going to make it so that they're like, that I'm going to see them a lot, and they're going to not feel disconnected by any means.
Amen.
I would have to do
Amen. Cool. So what else we got? What are the questions you got in the hopper there?
Be jumping on virtual call with me, or if not, they're going to record a video message to me. I don't got nothing, man. I don't got nothing. I don't see anything in the comments. So.
Cool, man. Well, we got to hang out. We got to ramble a little bit. We got to give some context. So I think it's, man, I'm good. So, for those of you guys watching in or listening to this, I think it's one of the things that we're going to, a little different time of the day, a little bit later in the day, but it's kind of fun, man. Just come hang out. Love to get a couple of guys on and kind of chat a little bit with you and see if you anything that we guys can help you guys with.
Yep. And don't forget to go to kinderreesecoaching.com if you're interested in learning more about our strategic business coaching. And the first thing to do is to set up a clarity call, and one of our team members would give you a call and reach out to you if they haven't already. If you've been there already, they might have reached out to you, but definitely somebody from our team would reach out to you to see what they can do to help.
For sure.
All right, Kitchens. Well, as always, man, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. See you next time.
Yes, sir.
To find out how to build a 7-figure real estate business in 3 years or less, go to kinderreesecoaching.com. You've been listening to the Growth Guys podcast. If you want us to help you grow your real estate business, go to kinderreesecoaching.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the Growth Guys podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast fix to get new, fresh weekly episodes. Catch you next time on the Growth Guys podcast.